Hey guys, the Arthur of Gaming here. Doing a little special video today. I have a special guest today. My wife is going to show you how we made some of our terrain tiles that we use when we build terrain with our Dwarven Forge 3D terrain. So pay attention, check it out. She's going to show you how we made these awesome tiles. Take care.
So people were interested in knowing how we used the tiles, what they were. So I did a tutorial about how to make the tiles, but this is just a little bit about how we actually use them in our daily stuff. So each tile is able to be pulled apart and they can be lifted up. They're strong enough to support the weight of the terrain on top of them, which is really helpful. So you can build things off and then set it back on. They slide together really easily. We build them specifically when we're doing our dungeon builds. We build them specifically so that they can be pulled apart right at each break with minimum of having to reset things. So sometimes you do have to reset stuff because it'll come off, but it's not a big deal. We try to set it up so that you don't have to do that. And then you can just slide things around. Nice and easy. So instead of spending your time building stuff on the table for your players, you build it ahead of time and then just bring it out when they're ready for it.
So what you're saying is then you can actually have your dungeon set up in a separate room and then just bring it in piece by piece and set it down on the table.
Absolutely. The one thing that is really nice is that if you don't have anything that sticks up above the level of the walls, so this piece does, so you'd have to take that off, but you can actually stack them on top of each other if they don't stick up ahead. So, like, these pieces all stick up, we'd have to take those down. But like this, again, this would have to get set down, but then you could put it on top and have something stack on top of that.
So then you could stack these up. For instance, we have how many tiles here? 8 of them, 2x4, right? Is that what we build? Yeah. So you could actually have like a stack in the corner of 8 tiles, for instance, and then cover them with a sheet or something if you wanted to hide your dungeon from your players.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm playing with right now is trying to find a way to have it set up and cover it so that we can reveal it as it's already out on the table. So we tried fabric, that did not work because it sinks in and then pulls the tiles off as you do it. Anything hard wouldn't work because, again, you have to lay down any pieces that would stick up above. So I'm trying it with foil right now. This isn't particularly attractive, but this is what I had, so this is what we're trying it with. And we could always spray paint this or get some, special fancy foil that would work better. But so far it seems to be working really well. You can even just roll it back if you only wanted to show a certain portion, or you can lift the whole thing off or just slide it backwards. But it doesn't mess up the stuff inside your dungeon, which is nice.
Nice, yeah. And so speaking of spray paint as well, how did we prepare these tiles here?
So I just got a textured spray paint. I think this was like a stone. There was some that was like a stone, 2 different stones there. I have the water tiles that I painted. These I painted with like just house paint and then sponged on top of it various other colors and then put a whole bunch of glitter on top of it because I like glitter and water is sparkly.
And so do you have something on the other side of that?
Yes. So most of our tiles are double-sided. We haven't actually gotten to all of them yet, but most of them are double-sided because you're just wasting them if you're not using both sides. One thing to be careful about is this textured stuff. When you put it down on your table, if you're sliding them back and forth, you could scratch your table, so be careful with that.
And so obviously you're getting double duty out of your tiles when you put one, like in this case we have some nice water, some ocean looking water kind of thing here, and then you got your maybe just some grassy area. The big part I feel about the tiles is we're not trying to draw attention to the tiles. Yeah. Your table should not be, oh, those are cool tiles. People should be like, holy cow, look at that 3D terrain, it's amazing. And not staring at the tiles. So by giving them some generic greens or maybe this textured paint or like we said with this nice water paint, whereas the water looks nice and it's going to function well when you're doing a water area, like an ocean, if you have some boats on an ocean, that should not be the focus. People shouldn't be like, ooh, the water looks really cool. It should be, holy cow, look at that 3D terrain. So that's kind of the goal here with that.
Yeah. The other thing that we've been using too is Dwarven Forge makes these metal fabric covered tiles. A lot of their terrain, the newer stuff especially, has magnets in it, so they're magnetic too. They'll stick to the tile. So they make those, and they, coincidentally, we did this on purpose, actually are 12 by 12, so they'll fit. This one is a little bit bigger because I cut that one wrong. But it'll fit on the actual 12 by 12 ones. So it fits right over the top of it.
Right, and that's kind of where we got the idea from. Dwarven Forge has these awesome metal tiles, like my wife said, like Julie said, stuff sticks to it. Their newer stuff has these magnets on the bottom. You can see those magnets. Sticks well to it. They're strong, obviously, because I'm vertical with this right now, as you can see, and it's staying on there. And we like them, and we like the images of them where there's some rocks, there's lava, there's water, there's the acid that I have currently set up for my game at home, and they were great. And then we thought, well, we would like something a little thicker and something a little more durable for transporting like from room to room. And in addition, we thought we wanted to do some streets, or not streets, but roads and grass to use in a village, which is part of the rest of this video, which you guys will see in a little bit. Something like that. Look at that, just on the other side. And so we're going to show you guys how to make this tile here, how we did this, and they really came out really, really well. And when we do some of our builds that are a village with just some buildings and some trees, these really, again, don't draw the eye to, wow, that's a cool road, but really pulls the tile together and makes it look cool. So stay tuned for the rest of this video, and we're going to show you how to make these kind of tiles right here.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm Martha's wife. So I am here to go through a tutorial quick about how to make tiles that can go underneath your 3D terrain to provide a little bit of background, a little bit of context. So we made a bunch of 3D terrain tiles that look like dirt roads and a little bit of maybe grass area or something like that to provide a backdrop for the 3D terrain. It also provides a nice structural base so you can set your terrain on top of it and move it, readjust it, and all of that kind of stuff. First, we went to the hardware store and bought a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of 1/4 inch MDF and had them cut it down into 12 by 12 inch squares, which is what we have here. The 3D terrain that we use is Dwarven Forge, which is based off of like a 2-inch square, so their terrain is basically 2 inches. So we wanted to have enough set up so that we could fit their terrain exactly on the 12-inch square. So if you have a different kind, you might need some different size, but this works out really well. We decided to go ahead and use the setup of like a random tile that connect in various ways from a popular board game, the way they have their tile set up so that everything connects in a multitude of different ways. So when you're deciding how many of each style you would like, you need to consider that you're going to need a bunch of different corner pieces and intersection pieces, straight pieces, and some T-sections. We also have 2 like dead end kind of things. You don't have to do that, but it is another option of something. You could put like a manor house or something like that at the end there. So it's a very simple process to go ahead and make these tiles. It's also really affordable. The board that we purchased was about $8 and it made 8 tiles, so it's about $1 per piece of tile. I already had a bunch of paint laying around, so I just used that. And then we just needed the matte finish over top of it just to protect it from getting scratched up. So ultimately very affordable per piece of tile. So you start with a blank MDF. This is what it would look like. What I did is I went ahead and I measured exactly to the middle, which would be the 6-inch mark, and then I did 1 inch on either side to give myself a 2-inch wide road. So I did that on all 4 sides, in the middle and the 2 inches on the outside, and then I just went ahead and drew lines all the way through so that I have a T section there. If you wanted to make it an exact T, you can do that. And if you were going to make it a dirt road, I would, maybe not have it be such a sharp intersection. You can add, your curvature there. If you were going to have it be one straight road, you could just do just one direction or the other. For the curves, the corner curves, again, you can just go ahead and mark off your corner, your curve. You could come in a little bit further if you want. It's just that these end pieces need to all be in the same location in order for them to match up to the different tiles. So if you have it at exactly midway through your tile, they're all going to match up pretty much exactly. So you can see like my paint job is a little not as neat on that one, but it still matches up. And they're dirt roads, so nobody expects them to be perfect anyway. Once you have outlined your road, my suggestion is to do all of your pieces at the same time. So you're gonna do your roads onto each piece, whatever variety, whatever combination works for you. And then you wanna go ahead and paint the background, the green color. We used a green color. You could use whatever you want. I just think green is the most generically useful.
And what kind of paint did you use, Julie?
I used an acrylic paint, just a basic acrylic paint for the background. I used a nice big paintbrush, just a regular house paintbrush. I went ahead and painted a base of just a darker green underneath, right to the edge of the roadways. I did that on every tile all at the same time so that they match up better. I tried painting one separate from the others, and the colors are so different that it doesn't really match up. Obviously none of these are perfect matches. They're a little slightly different on each one, but they're close enough that they can be mixed and matched.
And the thing to point out here too that's very important is, again, like I said previously, the tiles are not supposed to be the attention grabber here. This is not supposed to be like, oh hey, you have really cool tiles. The tiles are supposed to seamlessly blend in the background. Your 3D terrain is supposed to be what's really supposed to be the star of the show. But as we all know, a good star of the show without a good supporting cast is not any good either. So having these as a great supporting cast really helps to show off the terrain and make it look good. Okay, so what are we doing now, Julie?
So I wanted to show how some of the buildings work with these tiles, since it's hard to kind of understand what, you keep talking about how they're kind of supposed to be like the background piece. So instead of talking about that, we'll just show you how it works. So I put together a couple of buildings here. The Dwarven Forge terrain is really simple to set up. It takes a little bit of practice, but ultimately it's kind of like giant fantasy Legos.
And the good thing about it is it's very, very modular. So all these walls can be interchanged. You can have 2 sets of doors on a building. You can have a bunch of windows on a building if you want to. As you can see, it's not really all that hard to put them together. It all goes in there pretty easily.
I think the part that always gets me is which side is the top.
Luckily they are actually, if you see here, they are actually painted. So there's a painted top and then there's a molded side. So it's easy to tell which one's which. But when you first just pick it up off the table, you're like that one, for instance. Sometimes you put the molded side up and then have to flip it.
Nope.
Luckily, it's not that hard to do.
So there's another one. So I figured I would do a bigger building too, so I could show you how the double buildings work. This is currently all of this style of building that we personally have, so we just kind of made everything that we have. And I've made a lot of this recently, so a lot of practice making.
And just a note too, we don't have any that we're showing here, but on these window pieces here, there are inserts for those window pieces that have like shutters and curtains and various things like that. We didn't grab those for right now just because it adds a little more time. We're trying to keep this video a little bit smaller and not super long.
Well, I kind of wanted also for like people to see how simple it can be. Like you don't need to add all that extra stuff. You can if you have it, and it is kind of neat extra stuff, but if you only have a couple minutes to set something up, you really can just do it in a couple of minutes.
So here, if you look, there's these special, show them the double. double post kind of thing where that will go right in there, and that helps to hold two floor pieces together.
Yeah.
So then now this building is now, instead of being two single buildings, is now one longer rectangular building.
I'm gonna make a big square one too, which is, I haven't made one bigger than that just yet.
No, I think this is the biggest. I think that'll be the biggest one that we've made as a
Yeah.
single building. We've made some L-shaped buildings. We haven't tried just a big square like building yet, so that'll be interesting to try.
Let's see how it goes.
And do it on video because why not? Let's. If it turns out to be terrible, it turns out to be terrible.
See how bad it is. Make me do it. I see how it is. All right.
You gonna put tops on those?
I can, or you can. Is there so there's some little variety in there. So you use the double pieces, and I'm going to use the double pieces on the outside as well to keep those two together. I'm going to try and get away without doing those.
No, I think you need to put the doubles on the outside. I think.
You think so?
Yep.
All right.
Do we have more doubles over there? There she's going looking for. There you go. So there's some more doubles there. I think you're going to need the doubles on the outside. In fact, I'm not sure the doubles in the middle are even going to work. They don't line up.
They don't line up.
They don't line up with the piece here.
We're not going to put walls there.
Oh, you're just using that for support. Just using that for support. Okay.
Yeah.
Julie is the better builder on this than I am. She's.
Experience.
When we filmed Rollout Season 2, she did a lot of building for us, so she's got a lot more experience than this. Except she's got a wall upside down over there.
Oh, see?
See, it happens. It happens. But again, look, it's just easy to flip it. It's not, stuff is not complicated. I mean, it takes some finesse. It takes time to learn how to make things look really good. I have some friends who do a good job at setting them up. And but we're relatively new to this, so we haven't had a lot of experience yet. So actually, that kind of cuts the building in half, though. Do we want to do it that way?
Well, it's got two doors.
Oh, so you want it to be two separate buildings, two separate dwellings, but one big building.
Well,
That works.
could just put a door here. What do you know?
Bang! There we go. Now we got one big building. And throw some roofs on top of it.
This is technically a second floor, but I'm just doing a quick build. So you would put this on the second story up above.
And that's where the stairs would go.
And that's
Do we have another one of those over there?
Yes.
Yeah, she's grabbing that. So if you see here, if this was, there you go, there, and you're building another wall, another top, you could then put stairs in there, and the stairs would be to walk up to the next floor.
Yeah. I'm just putting it together real quick for you guys.
Or
to
those
see.
stairs, that could actually be stairs down to a basement as well,
Could
if you
be.
wanted to do something like that. Maybe you have a basement that's like a dungeon or something, something along those lines.
Let's do it that way.
Do it
Why
that
not?
way. There you go.
Sure.
A
So,
couple extra wall pieces there. Get those out of the way.
got a little town.
So here's our little town, quickly built town. As you saw, it was did not take long to build this town. It only took a few minutes. And the big thing about this is, again, the tiles seamlessly blend in. Like they are not the star of the show. Obviously, our amazing Dwarven Forge 3D terrain is definitely the star. It's what everybody's going to be oohing and eyeing over. But you see, we got our nice little roads going through there. We got some nice grass around the edge. We could obviously move these around. You can have buildings in various places over on the sides. It could be like a little cul-de-sac with a couple houses on the end of it.
One thing I was not thinking about, usually we like to make these builds so that when you pull the tiles apart, each piece comes up with it. I built this in the middle of 4 tiles. So in order
Which makes that difficult.
In order to, well, it's not that difficult really. Slide it to one tile, move your pieces all around however you want them, and slide it back. This is pretty sturdy once it's all put together. Like it's not gonna just fall apart. And if the roofs fall off, you just set them back on. But you don't have to, once all the support pieces are in, it's not that fragile. But thinking of it this way, what I might have done is build 4 separate bases, not connected.
Or you could put
So
it
I
over
could pull
here,
them
for
together.
instance, if you wanted to. I mean, that's the good thing about these tiles. You could put it there, and now all of a sudden we have a little And we even have that double row, so you can actually slide it over. So there you go. So that sits there. It could cover up this road over here, so it's not actually a road. Maybe this has now become a dead end for like an estate. And here's a cart path that coming up here that goes to this double. So maybe this is where the horses go or something. So you can totally do something like that and have that on one tile if you wanted to. And again, it's the terrain is amazing. Dwarven Forge does an amazing job. The good thing about this too is this stuff is really durable. Like this is a rubberized kind of material. You can drop it, you can step on it, you can kick it. It may fall apart from this if you do too much dropping and throwing because they're just pushed in. So it's possible that they could fall apart. But this stuff is supposed to be very tough and very hard to break. And that's what's also really, really good about it because you don't want to have terrain that's extremely fragile, and if you need to be the DM, the traveling DM, for instance, you don't want to have to go somewhere with all this stuff in your bag and then have to worry about if you're going to break it by the time you get there. Dwarvenite terrain, I think they call it, is just amazing, and it's tough and it's durable. Okay, so back over here to our tiles here. So we just used an acrylic paint, like you said, some green and some brown. So there's some artsy stuff in there that I'm not good at. So
all the pieces, a solid green, and then I just went back through with a piece of sponge. I literally cut a chunk of sponge off and dipped it in various colors and just kind of blotted it until I was happy with the result. And smeared it, blotted it. I think there's 4 or 5 different colors of paint, starting with the darkest one and working your way towards the lighter one.
And so for those of us who are not artistic in any way, so why do we do all the tiles at the same time?
So that they match up. So.
And when you say that, what do you mean? What do you mean by that exactly? Would they match up? The colors? Colors match up. Okay.
I mean, you can tell they're not perfectly matched, but you can tell the base color is the same on each tile. The colors that I used on each one are the same colors, and I know they are because I mix them and I use them all at the same time.
So these are not just a flat green color that you got out of an acrylic paint tube. You actually added some colors to the green to make your own color, kind of.
No.
Okay.
No, I used a darker green on the first. I painted that on with a paintbrush, like just kind of slathered that on as a base coat. And then once that was dry, I went back through with a lighter green on a sponge, and I kind of went through and made a little bit of texture with that. And then once that was dry, I went through with a lighter green, and then made a little bit more texture with that. And some of them I even put a little bit of yellow on there, and there's a little bit of like blue flowers and stuff.
So you just kind of layered the colors on top of it then.
Yes.
That's how you got what you got. Okay.
Yes.
And then what I liked about the roads that you did, I want you to tell the guys about this because I thought that was very interesting too, is how did you make the roads look like that?
So I went through and painted them all a base brown, a dark brown, and then I went through and put, actually I think what I did was I went through with the same brown. So I put a like brown on there, and then I went and I put this darker color on top, and then after it had dried for, I don't know, maybe a minute, I went back through with a wet sponge, and just swiped through the center in each direction of where the road would go to give it like some wear. So where you can see where I pulled away a bunch of that, and then I just went through each route, whichever way people would have gone. Obviously this is the more traveled way, this is a little bit less traveled, but you did that on each road.
Right, and that was something that I, again, not being an artist, thought was very interesting. I would never have thought of that myself. I would never have come up with the idea of putting some paint on and then taking a wet sponge and just pulling it off. But if you look at it, it really does make the appearance of like the ruts that you would get for wagons going through a town or something.
So not wet, just damp.
Damp,
you
correct.
You don't want to
damp.
wash it all off. You're just like removing a little bit of paint. And you're going to have to rinse your sponge in between. So what I would do is I would do like this section. I would do it maybe 2 or 3 times until I got the appearance I was looking for. And then I would rinse my sponge so that it was fresh and I wasn't just putting more brown paint back on. And then I would do, the next one, rinse that, and then go my crossways with that one. These are much easier. These are much easier. And you're just doing one swipe. One thing that I did notice was a little bit of an issue, and you just want to be careful if you're actually going to do this, that you're not forgetting about the very ends of your tile, because you want to make sure that you're going all the way through. As you can see, like on this one, I didn't do a very good job of that. And so it's so much darker here, it doesn't look like it goes on to the next road. So if I connected it to a piece that has a pretty decent section, it looks like, it doesn't look like the path continues very well. So just something to think about if you're going to do that.
Right, and the idea for these tiles, like we explained earlier, is having the roads all go through the center of each side. You get to then do this particular thing. Like this is just one layout. We could move all these tiles around and turn them, and there you go. I'll switch them all around, and now all of a sudden, you have a whole different configuration for your town. And you can have tiles that go off the map. And that's going to another town, for instance, maybe, and then you can do all this, and you can get. So we have a couple setups. If you look on my Instagram, the Arthur of Gaming, we did an example setup of this and took a bunch of pictures and put them up there. And we have trees on the map, and we have little people on the map, and we have barrels and carts, and it's a really nice looking village, and it's all based off of these cool terrain tiles that my wife made up here.
Once you're finished painting the tiles, you want to use a finish. So this is just a sealer. We happen to use the Mod Podge, but you don't. So once you've finished painting your tiles, let them dry completely. Once you're happy with their appearance, I would use a sealer on them. I just used the Mod Podge matte. I bought it at the craft store. It's pretty easily available. There are other brands as well. It just happens to be the one that I bought. And then you just brush that over the top with a giant paintbrush, which is what I did.
And so why are we putting that on there?
It'll protect the paint from scratching. So I noticed even while I was waiting before I had purchased this, because I was like, I need to go buy more because I didn't have enough. This is kind of a lot. That as we were just kind of playing with them and putting some of the buildings on them, little pieces of it were getting scratched. And it will, leave marks on this. So with the sealer on top of it, it's pretty well protected.
And so what is that stuff that you grabbed?
This?
Yeah.
The Mod Podge. It's a water-based sealer.
Okay.
Matte. They make a glossy. They make other finishes of it, but
and so you probably want matte for this reason, but
I used a gloss on my water tiles.
So you can use gloss on your water tiles. Okay.
I should use a glitter gloss on my water tiles. So there's other ways to do it, but I would suggest putting a finish over top of any paint that you put on these, because you are going to be moving pieces of stuff on top of them, and they'll get scratched pretty easily.
Right, and as we know, the dwarvenite is near indestructible, but our tiles are not. And so we don't want this house to slide across the thing, and all of a sudden you get a big streak in the middle of your road from where you're scratched it up. So you want to make sure it's protected and safe.
Or if you're using the opposite side. So all of our tiles are double-sided because, why not? Make them double-sided. We can use them for multi-purpose. So this side is our village tile, my dirt road tile, and this is like a stone. So I just spray painted this with a quick spray paint that I bought at the hardware store, but now it's two different sides. So you can use this side for something and use this side for something else. The problem, again, becomes if you don't seal it, now this is on your table sliding around while you're using the opposite side, it can get scratched up too. So sealer is important.
And the sealer wasn't very expensive. It was not, it was probably the most expensive part of the whole process, actually. Instead of the paint wasn't that expensive. I think the acrylic paints we bought for like $1 or $2 a piece, and the tiles were cheap.
Laying around. Like for the water tiles, I used just like wall paint, house paint.
Right.
It's not, I wasn't looking for like, heirloom quality, archival, quality art stuff. This is just a really basic, throw down some colors, have it match up, and have it look nice underneath things.
But that wasn't even that expensive. The sealer wasn't even that expensive. But yet the most expensive part, it was like $15, I think, for that big jug of it. Which and that'll get a lot.
We use it for other things as well.
We also use that for miniatures. If you're going to if you're going to paint miniatures, which we've been doing a lot of lately, you're going to use that to seal your miniatures as well. So this is it. This is our terrain tiles and how we've used them. We showed you earlier how we use our tiles in our dungeon area, and we just thought some people might be as interested in this as we thought. They came out well, and other people may want to know how to do them. We had some people on my Instagram when I posted that village I was talking about was asking about the tiles and how we got them and what we did with them. So for now, this is the Arthur of Gaming signing out. This is my beautiful wife Julie saying goodbye. And we'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Instagram at the Arthur of Gaming.